in A2 economics, we need to take a look at the different market structures, understand the key assumptions behind all, and ultimately be able to diagram and graph the structure, and then also investigate the efficiencies and then look at our assumptions a bit further in regards to the long run. So what I'm going to do using the software is I'm going to design a diagram for monopoly. Now you'll remember a monopoly is a firm that is generally the industry or has a dominant share of it. Now we have three different kinds of monopolies, which are going to be the natural, legal, and dominant. A natural monopoly is a market where long-run average costs are lowest when output is produced by one firm. So if you think about the costs of making the London Underground, they're the lowest because only one firm is responsible for constructing the underground. If there were competitors, they would all have higher costs than just having one. There's also a legal monopoly, which is a market where a firm has a share of 25% or more. And finally, a dominant monopoly, which is where where a firm has a 40% or more share. All right, so let me draw down the axes we need for this specific graph. So I'll start with my y-axis, which is cost and revenue. I'll label that in a second. The second one, going across here, is output. All right, so let me write all that in here. So that means I need to switch back to the pen. All right, so I'll label this costs and revenue. Yeah, you'll have to excuse the handwriting because I'm trying this on a tablet. So let's do this. Output. All right, then the first thing we need to do is draw in the average revenue curve, which is also the demand curve in this case. And remember, it's downward sloping because a monopoly, in order to sell more of its product, needs to reduce its price. Then we draw in the marginal revenue curve right next to that. Right, remember, when we start producing, they're past a certain level of output, marginal revenue is negative, which is why this line crosses over. So let's label these accurately. This is your demand curve, average revenue, and this is marginal revenue here. Okay, now in addition, we need the Nike swoosh, which you guys should remember is marginal cost. Not the most beautiful marginal cost line, but you get the idea. All right, now let's get in the average cost curve, which is a smiley face. A very crooked smiley face. This is terrible. I'm going to do it again. Let's go back. All right, one more time. Hopefully this one's better. Okay, well, you get the point. I'm no artist. All right, let's go down here. And look at this point where MR equals MC, right? Where MR equals MC, that is our profit maximizing point, right? Because we're going to assume that this firm, the monopoly, is profit maximizing. So from that point, I need to go down to the x-axis. And in order to find price at this level, I just take the quantity and drag it up to the demand curve because that will dictate to us a price. And after that, I need to go across to find out exactly what my price is going to be. And then I need to label these correctly. So this will be the price at profit maximization. This will be the quantity at profit maximization. And I also need to draw in one more line. Almost forgot. I need to follow this quantity up to where it crosses over the average cost curve. So this is average cost. Right, I need to find out where my quantity, because this quantity I'm producing, see where it hits my average cost curve and take that across. All right, so now I'm going to show you why I'm doing this. At this area that I'm about to shade red, or just quickly dash red. Yeah, this is awful, but you'll get the point in a second. That is what's known as normal profit. All right, because if you think about it, if I multiply my average cost per item times the amount of items I'm making. That's going to be roughly my normal profit, right? And then if I look at what I'm making above this point, which is this area here, can't really scribble it in, but the green bit, that's my supernormal, if I can get this to right, supernormal profit. This handwriting looks awful, but hey, you get the point. All right, so the thing I need you to understand here, so let me label this accurately. This point here, I'm going to label average cost. But the thing you need to understand with the monopoly, and again, pardon the poor diagramming, but you get the general idea, is that when we find the profit maximizing point, that's the first thing we do. We see where MR and MC intersect. We drop down to find quantity, then we go upwards to hit the demand curve to find out price, and we hop along left to get our price at this level of output. This is our profit maximizing level of output. So there's our price at that level, there's our quantity produced. The second thing you need to do is then take this dashed line up, see where it hits the average cost curve, and then take that across, because from that point, this line and below is normal profit, and then the space between your average cost and the price at which you're selling is your supernormal profit. Now if you look, right, price is not equal to marginal cost at this point. So let me get this here. We'll go with, what color? Go blue. All right, so price is greater than marginal cost, number one, because you can see here's our marginal cost. Right, if price were equal to marginal cost, this is where we would be priced at, but we're above that. So we're not, sorry, I don't mean that. Don't want to do that either. Let's go back here. Shut this. Single page. All right, let me do this. Erase the following. The next thing we need to check for is the efficiency. Right, and that's what I was doing before. All right, because if price were to equal, this is what I meant to write, price does equal marginal cost, then we have allocative efficiency. Since this is not the case, we don't. All right, so that's not going to happen. We have no allocative efficiency. The second thing to note is if we're producing at the lowest point of the average cost curve. So as you can see on this very beautiful average cost curve, we still have some room to come down. So we're not at our lowest cost. We're not at our lowest cost here. It's somewhere further. So therefore, we're not producing at the lowest point of the average cost curve, and we don't have productive efficiency either. All right, so I can do that. I'm only doing this so I can cross it out. So we have neither allocative nor productive efficiency. If you don't remember what they are, go back and review. But this is just a sample video, well, a short video to show you and explain how the diagram looks for the monopoly. If you find this helpful, tell me, because I'll do more. But I just want to stop here to give you the basics, and then we'll talk more about the impact of supernormal profits on the long run in a bit.